The market was loud and crowded. Voices of sellers rose like waves, each one shouting about fruits, clothes, or strange alien gadgets. Humans were rare here, and when one walked past, many heads turned. The man kept his eyes low. He was tired, thin, and his old jacket carried the dust of long travel. He had only one reason to be in this alien city, to find cheap medicine. His steps were slow, his mind heavy. He thought about the small bottle of medicine he needed. It was not for him. He wanted to take it back home for someone else. But the prices were high, and his pockets were almost empty. Every time he looked at the bright shops, he felt more hopeless then. A soft voice stopped him. "Please, wait." The man turned. In front of him stood a little alien girl. Her eyes were wide and bright, filled with fear and courage at the same time. She looked no older than 10. In her small hands, she carried a bundle of toys. They were simple things: a wooden animal with broken legs, a cloth doll missing one arm, and a shiny stone tied with string. The man frowned. "What is it, child?" The girl looked up at him, her lips trembling. "Take these, please. Give me medicine for my mother. She is dying." The words cut through the noise of the market. For a moment, the man could not breathe. He looked around, expecting others to react, but no one cared. Aliens passed by, their eyes sliding over the girl as if she was invisible. Some even looked with disgust, whispering to each other. The man's heart pounded. "These are your toys," he said softly. "Why give them away?" Tears shone in her eyes. "They are all I have, but I cannot play if my mother dies. Please, you are human. Humans are kind. Help us." The man felt a sting in his chest. He knelt to see her face better. The toys were worn, clearly loved for many years. To her, they were treasure. To anyone else, they were worthless. Yet she was offering them with trembling hands, begging for medicine. He whispered, "Where is your father?" Her eyes dropped to the ground. "Gone, long ago." The man asked again, "And no one else will help you?" The girl shook her head quickly. "They hate us. They say my mother brought shame. They say we must suffer, but I cannot let her die." Her voice cracked, but she stood strong, holding out the toys like an offering. The man saw her small fingers shaking. She was ready to lose her only happiness for the chance to save her mother. The man looked around again. Alien sellers watched him now, their faces sharp. He could hear whispers, "Foolish child. Desperate family. Humans should not get involved." Their eyes warned him to walk away, but he could not move. His mind told him it was dangerous, that he should stay out of this. Yet his heart felt heavy. He had seen poor children before, but never like this, never one ready to give away everything just to keep her mother alive. He sighed deeply. "Show me where to buy the medicine." The girl's eyes widened with hope. "You will help." He nodded. "I will try." Together they walked through the market. She clutched her toys tightly, as if afraid he would change his mind. The sellers glared at them as they passed. When they reached the medicine stall, the man asked for the price. The alien seller sneered. "Too much for you, human. Too much for that cursed family." The man's hands shook as he counted his coins. He did not have enough. The girl quickly pushed her toys forward. "Take these too. Please, they are valuable to me." The seller laughed cruelly. "My toys. Worthless junk." He shoved them aside. The man felt anger rise inside him. He slammed his coins on the table. "Take it, all of it. Give me the medicine." The seller stared, then slowly handed him a small bottle. The man grabbed it, his stomach twisting. He had given up everything he had. Now he had nothing left and not money, not safety, but at least he had the medicine. As they left the stall, the girl's small hand slipped into his. She whispered, "Thank you, human. You saved my mother." The man looked down at her and saw tears of relief in her eyes. But his own heart was heavy. Around them, the market grew silent, full of angry and watchful eyes. He knew he had stepped into something bigger than just kindness. He had taken the medicine. But in that moment, he also took the weight of a story that was not his own. A story full of danger, secrets, and shadows. And deep inside, he wondered if he had just made the worst mistake of his life. Asterisk. The man walked out of the market with the little alien girl by his side. In his hand, he held the small bottle of medicine. It felt heavy, much heavier than its size. He had given away all his money, and in return, he carried only one chance to keep a dying woman alive. But as he walked, he could feel eyes following him. The alien crowd parted, but not in kindness. Their stares were cold, their whispers sharp as knives. "Why help them?" one muttered. "A human fool," another spat. "They should suffer. Let them die." The words clung to him like shadows. The girl kept her head down, clutching her toys against her chest. She had picked them up again after the cruel seller tossed them aside. The man noticed how tightly she held them, as if afraid someone would steal them. They were broken, worthless to others, yet she hugged them with pride. The man swallowed hard. He wanted to ask her questions, but his mouth was dry. Instead, he kept walking until they turned into a narrow street where the market noise faded. Only then did he kneel beside her. What did they mean? He asked quietly, "Why does everyone hate your family?" The girl froze. Her lips trembled, but she did not speak. Instead, she looked away, her small body stiff with fear. Finally, she whispered, "Because of my mother. They say she carries shame. They say she is cursed. But she is only sick. She never harmed anyone." Her voice broke. The man stared at her, confusion deep in his mind. Shame. Curse. What kind of crime could a sick woman commit that made her entire community turn against her? He wanted to know more, but he saw her eyes glistening with tears. Pushing her would only hurt her more. So he placed a hand gently on her shoulder and said, "Take me to her." They walked further into the city, away from the shining streets and into darker alleys. The walls here were cracked, the air heavy with smoke. It was a place forgotten by the rich, a place where the poor and unwanted lived. The girl stopped in front of a broken door. She hesitated, then looked up at him. "She is inside," she whispered. The man's heart beat faster. He stepped inside the house. The air was thick and musty, carrying the smell of sickness. The room was small, the walls bare, the floor cold. On a simple bed lay a woman. Her skin was pale, her breathing shallow, her body trembling with weakness. The man froze. This was her mother. He saw the lines of pain across her face, but he also saw something else, something noble. Even in her weakness, her face carried dignity. It was the face of someone who once stood tall, not someone meant to live in poverty. The girl rushed to her mother's side. "Mama, I brought help." This human gave everything for medicine. She showed the bottle proudly. The woman opened her eyes slowly. They were tired, but when they rested on the man, something flickered inside them. A recognition. She tried to speak, but her voice cracked. "You, human. Why would you help us?" The man shifted uneasily. "Because your daughter asked. No one else would listen." The woman coughed, her thin body shaking. After a long pause, she whispered, "You should not have. Now, they will watch you too." Her words struck him like a cold wind. He frowned. "What do you mean?" The woman's lips curved into a weak, bitter smile. "This city. It has secrets. And those who know too much pay the price. My family. We were once respected. Until I refused to be silent. The man's mind spun with questions. Refused to be silent about what? What did this sick woman know that made her neighbors hate her, curse her, and abandon her? Before he could ask, heavy footsteps echoed outside. The girl froze, clutching her mother's hand. The man looked at the door. Shadows passed the broken frame. Voices whispered. Someone saw him. The human bought the medicine. He should not have helped them. We cannot allow it. The man's stomach twisted. He realized the danger was not just in the market. He had stepped into something bigger, something dark. The mother's hand reached out weakly, clutching his sleeve. Her eyes burned with a strange fire. If you care for my daughter, if you want to live, you must choose now. Will you walk away and forget us? Or will you listen to the truth I carry? The man's breath caught in his chest. He looked at the fragile child, holding her mother's hand. He looked at the bottle of medicine in his grip, the last of his money gone. He had already given too much, but could he turn away now? The voices outside grew louder, closer. The door rattled under a sudden push. The man knew he had only moments to decide. Would he leave them to face this cruel world alone? Or would he risk his own safety to uncover the truth that was slowly rising from the shadows? The girl's eyes locked onto his, pleading without words. The mother's gaze held secrets that could change everything. And the man, caught between fear and duty, felt the weight of his choice crush down on him. The door rattled again, louder this time. Dust fell from the wooden frame. The man's heart raced as the sound of heavy boots echoed outside. Whoever was out there was not here to deliver kindness. The little alien girl clung to her mother's weak hand, her wide eyes filled with terror. The man felt the air grow heavy. He had only moments to decide stay or flee. The sick woman, lying weak on the bed, raised her trembling hand. Her voice was thin but steady. Close the door. Sit near me. There are things you must hear. The man hesitated. Every instinct told him to run. But something in her eyes stopped him. Despite her weakness, her gaze carried strength of fire of truth that refused to die. Slowly, he pushed the door shut and moved closer to her bed. The girl leaned close to her mother, whispering, "Mama, please don't speak too much. Save your strength." But the woman shook her head. "Strength will not save us now. Only truth will." She turned her eyes toward the human. "You risked yourself for my child. That means you deserve to know why we are hated, and why danger will follow you now." The man nodded slowly. His throat was dry. "Tell me." The woman coughed, her body trembling. The girl held the bottle of medicine tightly, ready to give it to her, but the woman raised her hand again. "Not yet. First, listen." The man leaned closer, hearing every word as if the walls themselves were listening to. "Once," the woman whispered, "my family was honored. My husband was a leader, a voice against the council. He spoke of justice, of fairness, of sharing power with the people. But those in power hated him for it. They branded him a traitor. They sent him away far beyond this city. We never saw him again." The girl's small hands tightened on her toys. Tears welled in her eyes, but she stayed silent. The woman's weak voice continued. "I knew their lies. I saw their crimes. They steal from the poor. They twist the laws. I kept the records proof of their betrayal. That is why they curse us. That is why no one helps us. Because to stand with us is to stand against the council." The man's chest tightened. He finally understood the hatred in the market, the cruel words, the silence of the crowd. This was not just about sickness. It was about power and fear. The woman's breathing grew shallow, but her eyes burned brighter. I hid the proof. If it is found, the council will fall. But if it stays hidden, they will erase my family from history. My daughter will be left with nothing." The man's hands clenched into fists. He had only wanted to buy medicine. Yet now, without warning, he had stepped into a storm of corruption and danger. He asked carefully, "Where is this proof?" The woman's lips parted, ready to answer, but the door shook violently. A loud voice shouted from outside, "Open up. We know the human is inside. This is your last chance." The girl gasped, holding her mother's hand tighter. The man's heart thudded in his chest. There was no more time. The woman leaned close, her words quick and broken by coughs. "In the old box, under the stone floor. My husband's bracelet. Find it. Protect it. Promise me." The man's eyes darted across the room. In the corner, half hidden under cloth, he saw a small wooden box. The stone tiles beneath it looked uneven. His pulse raced. He nodded. "I promise." The woman gave a faint smile, her eyes softening. "Then my daughter has hope." The pounding on the door grew fiercer. The wood cracked. Splinters flew. The girl cried out, "They're coming." The man stood quickly, pulling the girl close. He grabbed the box, heavy and cold in his hands. Something rattled inside it, something metallic and strong. The woman's weak voice reached them one last time. "Take her. Take the proof. Do not let them silence us." Her words struck him like a blade. He looked at the girl, then at the box, then at the cracking door. His mind screamed at him to run, but his heart weighed heavy with the burden of her plea. The door burst open. Shadows filled the room. Tall figures in dark armor stepped inside, their eyes glowing with cruel intent. One of them sneered, "The human thinks he can save the cursed family. He will die for this mistake." The girl clutched his arm, trembling. The man tightened his grip on the box. For a moment, silence filled the room. Then he whispered, more to himself than anyone else, "No, not today." He pulled the girl toward the back wall, searching desperately for a way out. The wooden boards creaked under his boots, the box pressing against his chest. The armored figures advanced, weapons drawn, blocking the door. The mother's weak voice echoed in the chaos. "Run, run." And with that final command, the man kicked open the back window. Cold air rushed in. He pushed the girl through first, then followed, clutching the box with one hand and the medicine with the other. Behind them, the soldiers roared, their footsteps crashing against the floor. The night swallowed them as they fled into the shadows of the city. But the truth was now in his hands. And the hunt had just begun. The night swallowed them whole as they ran. The man's lungs burned, his legs heavy, but he did not stop. The little alien girl clung to his hand, stumbling to keep up, her toys bouncing against her chest. In his other arm, he carried the wooden box and the small bottle of medicine. Behind them, the shouts of armored soldiers echoed through the narrow streets. "Find them." One voice thundered. "They cannot escape." Another growled. The man turned sharply into an alley. The shadows there were deep, the smell of smoke and rot strong. He pressed his back against the wall, pulling the girl close. For a moment, they stood in silence, listening. Boots thundered past at the end of the alley, but none turned toward them. The girl's breath trembled. "Mama, she told you about the box, didn't she?" The man looked down at her. Her eyes were wide, glistening with both fear and hope. He nodded. "She said there's proof in here. Something about your father. Something dangerous." The girl's lips quivered. "That's why they hate us. That's why she suffers. Because she knows the truth." The man slowly set the box on the ground. He opened it with careful hands. Inside lay a simple bracelet, silver and worn, but glowing faintly with strange etchings. Alongside it were several folded papers, old and brittle. The man lifted one and read by the faint moonlight. His breath caught. The paper spoke of stolen wealth, secret deals, names of council members, and evidence of lies that stretched across the city. This was no small matter. It was enough to destroy powerful leaders. He closed the papers quickly, his mind spinning. This is dangerous. If they knew I held this, they would never stop hunting us. The girl touched the bracelet with gentle fingers. It was my father's. Mama said he died for speaking the truth, she said. One day, someone would carry his fight. The man looked at her, this small, trembling child with only broken toys for treasure. He felt the weight of her words press against his heart. He had not come here for this. He had not planned to carry anyone's fight. Yet here he was, holding proof that could shatter the lies of an entire council. The sound of boots returned. Soldiers were searching nearby. The man quickly closed the box and lifted it into his arms again. We can't stay here. They'll find us. He led the girl through winding alleys, deeper into the broken parts of the city. They passed walls covered in cracks, houses with no lights, and streets where the poor slept in silence. Yet even here, eyes followed them, some curious, some fearful. No one offered help. Everyone knew the curse of the girl's family. Finally, the man stopped in a ruined courtyard. The girl sank to the ground, exhausted. Her small chest rose and fell quickly. What will we do now? She whispered. The man knelt beside her. He held the box close. We find a safe place first. Then, we decide what to do with this. T touched the wooden lid. But this proof cannot stay hidden forever. If what your mother said is true, it could change everything. The girl looked at him with wide eyes. But it is dangerous, if they catch us. He finished her thought grimly. We die. A cold silence settled between them. The man stared at the box, his mind a storm. He wanted to walk away, to leave the city and never look back. But every time he thought of it, he saw the mother's pale face, her trembling hand clutching his sleeve, her last words echoing in his ears. Do not let them silence us. Before he could speak again, a shadow moved at the edge of the courtyard. The man spun around, his hand tightening around the box. From the darkness stepped a figure in a long cloak. You shouldn't carry that, the figure said softly. The voice was calm, almost kind, but it sent chills down the man's spine. The girl gasped, clinging to him. Who are you? The figure stepped closer. The hood fell back slightly, revealing alien features, scarred and sharp. Someone who knows what you hold. Someone who has been watching. That bracelet is not just proof. It is a key. With it, the council's darkest secrets can be unlocked. The man's chest tightened. And why should I trust you? The figure gave a slow smile. Because I want the council to fall as much as you do. But you must be careful. Not everyone who pretends to help will protect you. Many want the proof, but only to destroy it. The man did not move. His grip on the box tightened. He had no reason to trust this stranger. Yet their words rang with truth. The figure leaned closer, lowering their voice. They already know where you are. Soldiers will come here soon. If you want the child to live, follow me. I can take you to safety. The man looked at the girl. Her small face was pale with fear. Her toys clutched tightly to her chest. He looked back at the stranger. His heart pounded. Was this a savior or another trap? The footsteps of soldiers echoed again, closer this time. The choice pressed hard upon him, and as the night air grew colder, the man realized the dangerous secret he now carried was not only the proof in the box, but also the question of whom he could trust. The courtyard grew colder, filled with silence, broken only by the sound of distant boots. The human's grip on the wooden box tightened, the bracelet and papers inside rattling faintly. The little alien girl clung to his side, trembling. The cloaked stranger stood a few steps away, their shadow long under the pale moonlight. "You have no time," the stranger whispered, eyes darting to the alley. "The soldiers are close. Choose now, follow me or face them." The man's heart thundered. He hated being cornered, hated being forced to trust someone he didn't know. But the girl's small hand squeezed his, begging without words. She was too tired to run any longer. The sound of armored feet grew louder, echoing like drums of war. The man cursed under his breath. "Fine, lead the way. But if this is a trick..." The stranger smirked. "If I wanted you dead, I would not waste my breath." With that, they turned and slipped into the shadows of a narrow passage. The man lifted the girl into his arms, clutching the box tightly, and followed. The path twisted through ruins, broken houses, and tunnels hidden beneath stone. The air grew damp and cold. The stranger moved swiftly, like someone who knew every secret corner of the city. Behind them, the voices of soldiers grew angrier. They went this way. Find the human. Find the cursed child. The man's chest tightened. He had seen hunts before. Once soldiers chose their prey, they never stopped. At last, they reached an underground canal. Dark water flowed silently, reflecting the dim light of glowing stones. The stranger pointed to a small boat tied at the edge. "Get in." The man hesitated, but the girl was already climbing down. She looked at him with pleading eyes. With a sigh, he followed, settling into the boat with the box on his lap. The stranger untied the rope and pushed them into the current. The boat drifted through the canal, carrying them into deeper darkness. The sound of the city faded above them. For a moment, the man allowed himself to breathe. But peace did not last. A sudden torchlight flickered ahead. Dark shapes appeared on the stone walkway beside the canal. Soldiers, they had found another entrance. "There, stop the boat," one shouted. Arrows whistled through the air. The man ducked, shielding the girl. The stranger hissed, pulling the boat's rope to guide it into a side tunnel. The arrows splashed into the water, missing by inches. The tunnel was narrow, the air damp and suffocating. The boat scraped against stone walls as they pushed deeper. But the soldiers were not far behind. Their shouts echoed through the tunnels. Bouncing off the walls, the girl clutched her toys against her chest, whispering, "They won't stop, will they?" The man looked down at her pale face. He shook his head grimly. "No, they want what's in this box. They'll chase us to the ends of the city." The stranger turned sharply, eyes glinting. "Then you must decide soon. Keep running like Praetor, fight like someone who holds the truth." The man's jaw tightened. He hated being hunted. He hated feeling powerless. And now, with the proof in his hands, he realized he held something the council feared, that gave him power, if only he was brave enough to use it. Suddenly, the tunnel opened into a large underground chamber. Water pooled in the center, glowing faintly from crystals along the walls. The stranger stopped the boat and leaped onto the stone floor. "This is safe for now," they whispered. "But you must listen. That bracelet is not only proof. It can unlock the council's hidden vaults. Records, names, crimes, they are all there. With it, you can bring their lies into the light." The man stared at the bracelet inside the box. Simple, worn, yet it held the weight of an empire's corruption. His heart pounded. "And what happens if I fail?" The stranger's eyes darkened. "Then the council erases you, the girl and her mother from existence. No one will even remember you tried." Before the man could respond, a loud crash echoed through the chamber. Soldiers burst through a side tunnel, their armor gleaming in the crystal light. There, don't let them escape. The girl screamed, clutching his arm. The man grabbed the box and pulled her behind him. His eyes darted across the chamber, searching for another exit. The stranger drew a curved blade, stepping in front of them. Run, I'll hold them off. The man's instinct screamed to run, but his legs froze. Could he trust the stranger? Or would leaving mean walking straight into another trap? The soldiers advanced quickly, weapons raised. The chamber filled with shouts and the sharp clang of steel as the stranger clashed with them. Sparks flew, echoing against the stone walls. The girl tugged his sleeve desperately. Please, we have to go. The man's chest burned. His choices twisted like a knife inside him. Stay and fight. Trust the stranger. Or run and carry the proof alone. As soldiers poured into the chamber, he knew one thing for certain. The chase had only just begun. And the council would not rest until either he or the truth was buried forever. Asterisk, the underground chamber rang with the clash of steel. Sparks flashed as the cloaked stranger fought the armored soldiers, blade cutting through the dark. The human pulled the girl close, clutching the box tight against his chest. The air was heavy with shouts, the scrape of boots, the hiss of blades. The girl's voice was small and trembling. We can't stay. We have to go. The man's mind raced. The stranger was fighting fiercely, but there were too many soldiers. Soon they would be surrounded. He scanned the glowing chamber and spotted another tunnel at the far side. Without another thought, he lifted the girl into his arms and sprinted across the wet stone floor. Wait. The stranger shouted between strikes. That way leads outside the city. Don't let the council catch you. The man didn't stop. He ran with all his strength, his boots splashing through shallow water. The girl clung to him, holding her toys tight, her small heart beating against his chest. The box dug painfully into his ribs, but he refused to let it go. The tunnel twisted upward. Finally, they burst into the open air. Cold wind brushed his face, carrying the smell of smoke and stone. They had reached the edge of the ruined quarter. Behind them, the echoes of battle still rang, fading slowly. The man dropped to his knees, breathless. He set the girl down gently. We need to rest just for a moment. But before they could, a voice called from the shadows. Well, well. Look who escaped. The man froze. From the darkness stepped another figure, this one without a cloak. He was tall, dressed in clean robes, his face sharp and cruelly handsome. He was no soldier, but his eyes burned with arrogance. The girl gasped. You promised to help us before. The man's stomach twisted. This was no stranger. He remembered passing this figure in the market earlier. He had smiled kindly at the girl, whispered that maybe one day he would help. Now his smile was gone, replaced by cold greed. Yes, little one, the man said smoothly. And I will help, but not in the way you think. Hand over the box. The human's grip tightened on it. Why? The figure's eyes gleamed. Because truth is dangerous. If those papers reach the people, chaos will rise. Better they vanish forever. And better for me, to be the one who delivers them to the council. With that gift, I will be rewarded beyond imagination. The girl's voice cracked. You're betraying us. The figure chuckled. Betrayal. No, child. Survival. He stepped closer. Behind him, more soldiers emerged from the alleys, their armor shining faintly under the moon. The man's heart sank. It was a trap. The stranger in the chamber had been fighting to buy them time, tea, but now this so-called ally had undone it all. The soldiers raised their weapons. The tall man stretched out his hand. The box, now. The girl clutched the human sleeve. Don't give it to him. Mama trusted you. The man's chest tightened. He was outnumbered, cornered, and exhausted. But when he looked at the girl's wide, desperate eyes, he knew he could not betray her trust. Slowly, he set the box on the ground. The tall man's smile widened. He stepped forward to pick it up, but then the human acted. In one swift move, he grabbed the girl's broken toy, the wooden animal, from her arms. Its legs were cracked, but inside its hollow body rattled a small piece of metal. With a sudden snap, he pulled it free and struck the tall man's hand. The sharp edge cut across the man's skin, making him stumble back with a shout of pain. The girl gasped. The toy, worthless to others, had become a weapon in desperate hands. The man snatched the box again, pulling the girl behind him. Run! Chaos erupted. The soldiers charged, but the human threw the broken toy onto the ground. Its hollow body burst open, spilling a handful of small, shiny stones that clattered loudly across the cobblestones. The soldiers stumbled, slipping on the stones. Their formation broken, the man and girl dashed through the gap, vanishing into the shadows. Shouts echoed behind them. But the night swallowed their figures. They didn't stop until they reached the broken steps of an abandoned tower. Inside, the air was cold and silent. The man set the girl down, both of them gasping for breath. The girl held the remaining toys tightly. Tears filled her eyes. You used my toy. You saved us with it. The man nodded, his chest rising and falling heavily. Sometimes the smallest things matter most. Never let anyone tell you they are worthless. She smiled faintly through her tears, her heart filled with both pain and hope. The man looked at the box again, the bracelet glowing faintly in the dark. He realized that no matter how many enemies hunted them, no matter how deep the betrayal, they still had something the council feared most, the truth. And now he understood something else. The girl was not just a burden. She was his strength, her courage, her trust, her toy small things that carried great meaning. He placed a hand on her shoulder. We'll fight this together. I promise. But even as he spoke, distant horns blew across the city. The hunt was far from over. The council would send more, stronger and somewhere deep inside. The man knew the final battle was drawing closer. The abandoned tower was cold and silent. Broken stones lay scattered across the floor, and moonlight slipped through cracks in the walls. The man sat with his back against the wall, holding the wooden box in his lap. The little alien girl curled beside him, clutching her toys tightly, her small body shaking with exhaustion. For a long moment, there was only silence. Outside, the distant sound of horns carried through the night. The council's soldiers were still searching. Their hunt was far from over. The man opened the box again. The bracelet glowed faintly, its etchings shimmering in the moonlight. The papers were worn, but their words were sharp evidence of lies, theft, and betrayal by the council. Secrets that could tear the city apart. He felt the weight of it pressing against his chest. The girl's voice broke the silence. Will Mama be safe? Will she live? The man's throat tightened. He remembered the sick woman's pale face, her trembling voice, her last plea. He held up the small bottle of medicine. If we can get back to her in time, yes, she will live. The girl's eyes shone with fragile hope. But then her gaze shifted to the box. Hey, what about this? Mama said it is proof. What will you do with it? The man stared at the bracelet, his mind torn. He could keep running, try to protect the girl and her mother quietly. Or he could reveal the truth and bring the council down, but that would put them all in even greater danger. Before he could answer, the sound of footsteps echoed in the tower. The man rose quickly, pulling the girl behind him. Shadows moved at the entrance. For a heartbeat, fear froze his body. But then, from the shadows, the cloaked stranger stepped forward. The girl gasped, "You're alive?" The stranger gave a tired smile. their blade stained from battle. Barely, but I did not fight for nothing. You still have the box. The man narrowed his eyes. Why should I trust you? You led us into a trap once already. The strangers shook their head. That was not me. The man in robes, he serves the council. I fought them in the shadows for years. And now, with that proof, we have a chance to end their lies forever. The man hesitated. Trust was a dangerous thing, but time was running out. Soldiers would soon surround the tower. The strangers stepped closer, lowering their voice. At dawn, the council will gather in the Hall of Order. If the truth is revealed there before the people, the council will have no escape, but it will be dangerous. They will kill to keep their secrets hidden. The girl looked up at the human, her eyes wide with both fear and courage. Mama wanted the truth told. We have to do it. The man's jaw tightened. He had come to the city only to buy medicine. Yet now he stood on the edge of changing its history. He looked at the girl, at the fragile toys in her arms, and then at the glowing bracelet. Finally, he nodded. Then we go at dawn. The Hall of Order was vast, its stone walls lined with banners of power. The council sat on high seats, their faces cold and proud. Before them, citizens filled the floor, their voices murmuring in the echoing chamber. Soldiers stood guard at every entrance. The man walked forward, the girl at his side, the cloaked stranger close behind. Gasps spread through the hall. A human in this place was rare. And in his hands, the wooden box. One counselor rose, his voice sharp. Seize him, he carries stolen property. But the man did not stop. He stepped into the center of the hall and raised the bracelet high. The etchings glowed brightly, casting light across the stone floor. This, a man's voice rang out, is proof of your crimes. These papers show your lies. Your people suffer while you steal from them. You exiled the girl's father for speaking the truth, and you tried to silence her mother for keeping it alive. The hall erupted in shouts. Some citizens gasped in disbelief. Others roared in anger. Soldiers hesitated, glancing nervously at the glowing bracelet. The counselors shouted over one another. Lies! Seize them now! Do not listen! But the cloaked strangers stepped forward, their voice booming. I have fought in the shadows. I have seen the truth. And today, it will no longer be hidden. The man threw the papers onto the floor. Citizens surged forward, picking them up, reading them, passing them hand to hand. Murmurs grew louder, turning into cries of rage. The girl clung to the man's hand, her small face glowing with courage. They see it now. They know the truth. The counselors paled. The people had turned against them. Soldiers lowered their weapons, unwilling to fight the very crowd they were meant to protect. One by one, the council's power crumbled. Their voices were drowned by the roar of the people demanding justice. The man looked down at the girl. She smiled, tears in her eyes. Mama will be safe now. Papa's fight is not lost. He placed a hand gently on her shoulder. No, it lives on in you. And for the first time since he had entered that city, the man felt something deep inside him. Not fear, not burden, but hope.